The year is 1691, a burning August, where empires hang by a thread, beneath the silent flow of the Danube, on the dry hills of Slankamen. Two armies prepare to collide. On one side, the Ottoman Empire's last great hope, Grand Vizier Fazıl Mustafa Pasha. On the other, the Habsburg war machine, led by Ludwig Wilhelm. This is not just a battle. It is a final gamble, a moment where everything can be won or lost. And before the sun sets, one side will fall. Across the parched plains of Slankamen, a legend casts a long, cold shadow. Ludwig Wilhelm of Baden-Baden, the formidable Louis, a titan of strategy, clad in steel, a blood-red sash across his chest, armor polished to a mirror shine, his gaze cold, precise. Through a brass telescope, he studies the Ottoman lines. He is not just a general. He is calculation. He is discipline. He is the unstoppable force of Habsburg power. Facing the legendary Louis stood the Ottoman Empire's final hope, Grand Vizier Fazıl Mustafa Pasha, a man of the prestigious Köprülü line, carrying the weight of a declining empire on his shoulders. Inside the golden glow of the Ota Humayun, he prepares, not just for battle, for judgment. This is more than a military engagement. It is a desperate struggle to reclaim a fading empire. Was the Ottoman Empire truly recovering after the recapture of Belgrade? Or was it something else, a giant, already collapsing from within, unaware of its own end? This is the paradox that leads us to Slankamen. So how did it happen? How did a smaller, exhausted army survive against the power of the Köprülü restoration? The answer is not just on the battlefield. It hides in strategy, in weakness, and in the slow decay of an empire. The shadow of 1683 still loomed. The Ottoman Empire was retreating, step by step. From the heart of Europe, Budin had fallen, Belgrade was lost, and the unstoppable momentum of the Köprülü era began to fracture. This was no ordinary setback. This was crisis. And in that moment, the fate of a dynasty would come down to something unexpected. A single shot, a lead musket ball, that would change everything. In 1690, the tide began to turn. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha took control of a crumbling empire with iron discipline and relentless reform. He brought order out of chaos. Decisions were made, sealed in wax, under the authority of the Grand Vizier. This was a new beginning. No longer retreating, the army stood, ready, steel polished, lines restored, and in their eyes, a single purpose: to reclaim what had been lost, to restore imperial glory. In 1690, Belgrade was retaken, a moment of triumph, under Fazıl Mustafa Pasha. The city, still scarred by siege, glowed in the golden light of evening, and above the Danube, the imperial banner rose once again. For a moment, it felt like a resurgence, like the empire was rising again. But that moment was fragile, because behind the victory, a different story was unfolding. The smoke fades, the battlefield disappears, and we are left with something colder: ink, numbers, records, a military ledger, stained with the cost of war. And suddenly, the truth becomes clear. This was not strength. This was strain. the final gamble of a weakening empire. On paper, the Ottoman army of 1691 looked unstoppable. 50,000 soldiers, over 150 cannons, an empire ready for war. But beneath that strength, something was breaking. The heat was relentless. Disease spread through the ranks. Supply lines were failing. And under the burning Balkan sun, the illusion began to crack. The Janissaries stood tall, disciplined, imposing, but it was only a mask. Behind it, an empty treasury and an army already collapsing. Ludwig Wilhelm, the calculating commander, he does not rush, he does not panic, he retreats. But this is no retreat, step by step. He pulls the Ottoman army forward, through heat, through dust, through exhaustion, from the high ground of Slankamen. He watches, through a brass telescope, cold, focused. He is not running, he is hunting, drawing his enemy into a trap. Behind him, the Danube glimmers, a silent line, the edge of his control. Under the merciless August sun, the Ottoman vanguard pushes forward. Through thick clouds of choking dust, step by step, they struggle. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha watches, his silk kaftan now covered in dust. The lines of Janissaries begin to break. Discipline fades. Order dissolves. Every step drains what little strength remains. This is no longer an advance. This is exhaustion. They are not conquerors anymore. They are prey, being drawn towards something unseen, toward the heights of Slankamen. At the heights of Slankamen, the air turns heavy, thick, with smoke, with fire. Ottoman cannons roar. The ground trembles. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha raises his command, his dust-covered kaftan shimmering under the brutal sun. And then the guns unleash. Black powder smoke swallows the battlefield. For a moment, it feels like dominance, like victory, is within reach. The Janissaries surge forward, driven by thunder, by rhythm, by war. At the heights of Slankamen, everything changes. The smoke begins to clear, and with it, the illusion of victory disappears. Ludwig Wilhelm moves. His final reserves enter the battle, heavy cavalry, steel, relentless. Alongside them, Serbian militia surge forward, a cold wave, crashing into the Ottoman lines. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha sees it, and for the first time, he hesitates. The moment shifts. The golden light of victory fades, replaced by something colder. Steel, impact, inevitable collapse. The smoke splits, and out of it they come. 10,000 men, Serbian militia, not marching, erupting. This is no longer strategy. This is fury, raw, uncontrolled, clad in rough wool, furs, steel in their hands, axes, blades, jagged, worn. They don't advance, they surge, with screams that carry generations of rage. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha sees it, and for the first time, there is fear. The Ottoman line begins to break, not against discipline, but against chaos, an unstoppable wave. In the smoke of Slankamen, the Ottoman flank collapses, shattered, under a brutal surge. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha rides forward, his silk kaftan, now stained with mud, his horse restless, the battlefield breaking apart. Around him, men retreat, panic spreads, but he does not stop. He rides against the chaos, a single figure in gold, against a collapsing tide. He grips his command, tight, his eyes filled with resolve, not to win, but to resist the inevitable. And then it happens. A single shot cuts through the smoke, unseen, silent. A musket ball finds its mark. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha is struck, and in an instant he falls. From his horse to the ground, the Grand Vizier is gone. His command baton slips from his hand into the mud, and with it, everything breaks. Orders vanish, discipline collapses, panic spreads like a shockwave. What was once an army becomes a crowd, running, fleeing, disappearing into shadow. The war machine breaks. The Ottoman command is gone, lost, in the smoke. Cannons, abandoned. Great bombards, sinking, into blood and mud. The imperial treasury, overturned. Gold, spilling into the dirt. 25,000 lives, gone, in a single day. This is no longer a battle. This is collapse. Total. Irreversible. The light shifts. Cold. Blue. It swallows. The fading gold of an empire. And with it, an era comes to an end. The sun sets. Over Slankamen, blood-soaked fields stretch into shadow. 32,000 souls lie silent. The Habsburgs count their dead, 7,000. But the Ottoman Empire loses something greater: leadership, momentum, hope. In the cold mud, a single light flickers and fades. The empire does not fall in a moment, but here. It loses its last chance in Europe, and history remembers this day. After Slankamen, the decline begins, slow, unstoppable. The empire spirals, deeper. Then, in 1697, Zenta, another disaster, and with it, the last resistance breaks. By 1699, there is no choice left. A treaty is signed, Karlowitz. A quill moves across parchment, and with every stroke, territory is lost. Hungary fades from gold into cold Habsburg blue. For the first time, the empire gives away its lands, not in battle, but in ink, and Europe is changed forever. History is often told through armies, through empires, through grand victories, but the truth is far more fragile. The Ottoman Empire did not fall under centuries of weight. It broke in a single moment, a silent heartbeat, one decision, one mistake, or maybe just one bullet. And if that bullet had missed, would history look the same? If you want more stories like this, where battles, strategy, and the moments that changed everything collide, make sure to subscribe and join us on this journey through time, because history is full of questions, full of what-ifs, waiting to be uncovered. So tell me, what moment should we explore next? Leave it in the comments below. And I'll see you right here in the next video.